I want to tell you about a specific date, August 12th. At noon Eastern Time, the USDA will release the August edition of the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates, the WASDE report. It comes out every month, but the August edition is different from every other one this year. It's the first report to contain field-based yield estimates for corn and soybeans, the two most important crop staples in the U.S. food system. Not model-based projections, not computer forecasts assuming normal weather, because we haven't had normal weather this year. Actual field surveys of actual crops in the ground right now. That distinction matters because the model-based numbers have been saying one thing all summer. The field survey numbers, coming out August 12th, will say what actually happened. If those two things diverge, commodity markets move, and commodity markets moving eventually reaches your grocery store. I want to walk you through what this report is, what it might show this year, what each possible outcome means for your pantry, and most importantly, why your action plan is the same regardless of what the data shows. Here's the thing, you don't need to wait for August 12th to know what to do. You need to be done before August 12th, so you're not reacting to data you're already protected. That's what preparedness is. Let me explain the WASDE from the beginning, because most people have never heard of it and the name is genuinely opaque. It's a monthly report published by the USDA's World Agricultural Outlook Board, continuously since 1973. It covers supply and demand forecasts for U.S. and global wheat, rice, corn, soybeans, cotton, and a range of other commodities including meat, dairy, and eggs. It's released between the 8th and 12th of every month at noon Eastern. Every major commodity trading firm, every grain company, every food manufacturer, every retailer with a sophisticated supply chain team reads this report the moment it drops. Wall Street analysts predict what it will show. Futures markets price in those expectations before the report lands. When actual numbers differ from expectations, markets move, sometimes significantly. Not every month carries the same weight. May matters because it's the first official estimate for the new marketing year. July matters because it begins updating crop-specific estimates. That's the report that showed us the smallest wheat crop since 1970. But August is the one the agricultural community specifically watches, because it delivers the first field survey-based yield estimates for corn and soybeans. All prior estimates are model projections, educated guesses based on extensive data, but still projections. For August, the USDA sends surveyors into actual fields across the corn and soybean belts in late July and early August to physically count and measure what's growing. Those field surveys replace assumptions with real-world observations. That makes the August corn and soybean yield numbers the most credible, most market-moving single data point the crop market receives between May and harvest. Why does this matter for your pantry? Corn is in roughly 75% of packaged foods in the U.S., primarily as high-fructose corn syrup, corn starch, corn oil, and corn-derived sweeteners. It's also the primary feed grain for poultry and pork. A corn yield surprise in either direction affects packaged food prices and animal protein prices downstream. Soybeans are the primary source of vegetable oil in the U.S. food system, and soybean meal is the primary protein supplement in animal feed, affecting poultry, pork, and beef costs. The August report also continues updating the wheat picture. The July 10th report confirmed the smallest winter wheat crop since 1970, and August will give us a truer picture of where that stands. It also updates rice estimates. The July report showed U.S. rice ending stocks down 28% in a single month, a significant revision. Here's specifically what I'm watching for on August 12th. The corn yield number is the most watched figure for obvious reasons. The USDA's February Outlook Forum projected the 2026 corn crop at 15.8 billion bushels, based on a yield of 183 bushels per acre, assuming normal weather. Summer hasn't had normal weather in all regions. Above average heat has hit key corn growing areas, and crop condition reports through July have shown corn rated good to excellent at a smaller share than last year in several key states. August 12th will tell us whether that translated to a yield below 183, at 183, or above it in some regions. Soybeans were projected at 4.45 billion bushels in February. Same caveat. Growing conditions through midsummer have been mixed, some Corn Belt regions performing well, others facing heat and moisture stress. This matters for cooking oil prices and poultry and pork prices, especially with beef already under pressure. A significant miss below 4.45 billion bushels could tighten soybean meal for feed and push vegetable oil prices higher. Then there's wheat. The July report confirmed the smallest winter wheat crop since 1970. August will update ending stocks, export forecasts, and the farm price projection currently set at $6 per bushel. If that number gets raised based on tighter supplies, the retail price impact will be steeper than currently forecast. And rice. The July WASDE dropped U.S. rice ending stocks by 28% in 1 month. August will tell us whether that trend stabilizes or continues. That's the reason rice sits in week 1 of the 6-week plan I released Monday rather than later. It needed the early attention. Let me give you some historical context for how often August produces surprises. In years with benign summer weather, the August report tends to be a modest revision, smaller market reaction, stable prices. In years with weather-stressed drought, excessive heat, flooding, August has produced significant reactions. 2012's drought year saw corn yield revised dramatically lower, producing real price spikes. 2019 surprised to the upside after crops recovered from a wet spring. 2023 came in largely as expected, with El Niño conditions building, above average summer heat in key growing regions, and fertilizer supply constraints from the Strait of Hormuz closure in the background. The risk of this year's report coming in below expectations is meaningfully elevated. I'm not saying it, I'm saying the conditions that produce downside surprises are more present this year than typical. 3 possible scenarios, and what each means for your pantry. Scenario 1. Better than expected. Corn yield above 183. Soybeans at or above 4.45 billion bushels. Wheat ending stocks revised up. Rice stabilized. Corn and soybean futures decline or stabilize. Feed costs ease. Packaged food prices face less upward pressure. But this doesn't reverse the wheat story already locked in from July. The beef situation driven by cattle supply, the tariff lag on canned goods, or the El Niño impact on imported produce. A good corn and soybean crop is genuinely good news, but not a reversal of everything we've been tracking. Your action. Continue the 6-week plan. A better than expected report doesn't mean you made a mistake buying early. It means the insurance you bought was cheap insurance. Scenario 2. In line with expectations. Corn near 183, soybeans near 4.45 billion. Wheat and rice revisions modest. Muted market reaction. This is the scenario where the fall plays out roughly as the USDA's food price outlook already described: wheat products heading higher, beef structurally expensive, tariff lag completing on canned goods, El Niño pressuring imports. Not worse than forecast, but not better either. Your action: continue the plan without modification. Scenario 3. Worse than expected. Corn yield meaningfully below 183, maybe 178 to 181. Soybean yield below 4.45 billion. Wheat ending stocks revised further down. Rice stocks continuing to decline. Corn and soybean futures rise. Feed costs increase. Grain input costs for manufacturers increase. And that flows to retail shelves over the following 6 to 12 months. Packaged grain products, bread, pasta, crackers, cereal face higher input costs. Poultry and pork costs rise from feed pressure. Vegetable oil rises from soybean pressure. These pressures compound on top of the wheat shortfall, the beef constraint, the tariff lag, and El Niño. This is where the family that completed week 1 before August 12th is in a materially different position than the family that planned to do it in September. The flour, rice, oats, and pasta sealed up in week 1 were priced at pre-report prices. Anything you haven't bought yet gets priced post-report. That's not a reason to panic, it's a reason to understand why week 1 is week 1. The common thread across all 3 scenarios: your 6-week plan is the right plan regardless. If the report's better than expected, you bought at good prices, and the fall is less severe, still a win. If it's in line, you're on track. If it's worse, your week 1 purchases were specifically timed to be done before the data, and you're protected against what follows. The cost of acting before the report and having it come in fine is 0. You bought at today's prices, and the fall is less severe. The cost of waiting until after the report and having it come in worse is that you're now buying at post-report prices. Here's a practical guide for following August 12th when it drops. The report is published at USDA.gov, and I'll put links below. It's free and public, no subscription needed. For plain language interpretation right after release, outlets like Farm Progress, AgWeb, and ProFarmer typically publish same-day analysis with real expertise, more useful than mainstream coverage, which usually focuses only on whether yields beat or missed expectations for farm income, and rarely connects the numbers to your grocery bill. I'll put out a video as soon as possible after the report translating the yield numbers into what they mean for specific pantry categories, updating the fall outlook, and telling you if anything in the plan needs to change. The one number to watch yourself: corn yield. July's projection was 183 bushels per acre. If August shows 181 or below, that's a miss that moves markets. If it shows 183 or above, the season performed as expected. That single number tells you most of what you need to know about which scenario is playing out. So what to do between now and August 12th? Complete week 1. If you haven't started, this week before the weekend is when to do it: flour, rice, oats, pasta, cornmeal, sealed in airtight containers or mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. This isn't manufactured urgency. August 12th is a real date that produces real market reactions, and buying before it is simply rational timing. Use week 2 for proteins. While grains are the most time-sensitive category relative to August 12th, proteins are the most financially significant category to buy now. Ground beef at today's prices versus October prices is a real difference. Canned fish before the tariff lag completes is a real difference. If you follow the news, crop progress and condition reports come out every Monday from the USDA between now and August 12th. If you see multiple weeks of deteriorating conditions in late July and early August, that's a signal the field survey numbers may come in below expectations. You don't need to read these yourself. I'll flag anything significant. To bring this together, August 12th at noon Eastern, the USDA releases the most important crop report of the year, the first, with field survey-based yield estimates for corn and soybeans, making it the most accurate, most market-moving data point between May and harvest. 3 possible outcomes, and your pantry plan is the same in all 3. The difference is only in the cost of what you haven't bought yet. Complete week 1 grains sealed properly and begin week 2, proteins. By August 12th, you're protected regardless of what the data shows. Friday, I'm covering the $200 pantry build, the version of this plan for tighter budgets. I hope this was useful, and I hope it gives you the motivation to keep building your pantry. Until next time, be safe and keep stacking it to the rafters.